The next section is tools. And we're going to skip that for now because we're going to get into those later on, more in-depth explanation for those. But that's right off the bat, out of the box, it's for importing and exporting content from one site to another. So if you're creating a new site but you wanted to bring in blog posts, for example, from your old site, you could do an export file here, which would export your content, and then go to the import screen, install your WordPress importer, and then import the file. But we'll get into that later, but if that's something you want to do, you can check that out. And so now the last item that we're going to cover is the settings. Now I'm going to go through these kind of briefly and tell you what's on each settings page, but I'm not going to go through each individual field. There's descriptions under each thing, and everybody's how they want to set up their website is going to be different. So I'd recommend one of the first things that you do maybe after checking out the video is just go through those pages and read the different settings and the descriptions and set them up how you think you're going to need to. But there's no point in really going through them in depth because you're going to be doing this so many times that you'll just kind of know after a while. So the general settings is your general site settings, the name of your site, your tagline, which is kind of like a slogan, the website's email address, which is going to get any site related notifications, date and time zone information, and then this membership, which is whether or not people should be allowed to register. So if you're just a company, a website, which is going to have a blog and some other stuff, you might not need anybody to register, and so it's better just to kind of leave it disabled. But if you are going to want feedback from people, or you're going to have a reason for people to register, then you just kind of check that, and then you can select which role they can have when they register. Normally that's going to be subscriber, but if you have some kind of collaborative writing website or something like that where you're going to have a lot of people contributing content and right off the bat, then you would want to set that maybe as contributor, and then when they create content, it's still got to be approved by you, and they don't have access to anything else in your system other than they can create content on their own and you can approve it. But generally that's going to say subscriber, and the save changes down here at the bottom. The writing is for the default post category. We talked about that before. Before you create categories, there's that uncategorized thing, which kind of everything goes into. If it's not set to another category, you can change that the default category that posts go into to one of your pre-formatted ones. And the default post format, which, like I said, we're not going to be using very often, so you can keep this as standard. But if you do down the line create, let's say, a video website, and all of them are going to use this video post format, it just saves you an extra step of having to select it every time. And you can also write blog posts via email. I don't really recommend that for different formatting options, but if you did want to do that, you can put an email account connection information in here, and then when you email a post to that email address, it will automatically post on your website. Under reading, we're going to manage this actually in a second, this front page displays, so I'll go over that in a minute, but otherwise it's just showing how your blog post should be arranged on the main blog page. And this last setting, which is discouraging search engines from indexing the site, that's what we talked about way in the beginning of this tutorial. If you're creating a staging site and it's on a staging URL, for obvious reasons, you don't want Google and other search engines indexing that website. Now, the hosts that we use automatically block search engines from looking at staging sites, but you want to get in the habit of making sure that that's always checked when you're creating a new website until you're ready. The only difference to this is if you are creating a website on your live domain, which you shouldn't be doing, but if you went off on a crazy tangent and decided to do that, don't discourage search engines from checking it out. Let them index it while you're building it. Worst case scenario, you're going to get some traffic ahead of time, but if it's on your main domain that you're going to use later on, you don't want to tell Google ever to not look at it, even if it's temporary. You might as well start building up that page rank right away. But in general, always build on a staging site and don't publish to live and start indexing stuff until your website's ready to go and you're ready to see people. And it's the last level, or the level that you want to launch it with, or with the structure, because everything can change during development. The last is discussion, and this has everything to do with comments and when you get notifications on your site, whether or not people should be able to comment, or whether they have to register first, all that kind of thing. So that's really going to be different depending on the site, and that's all available here in the discussion section, so check that out. Media is defining the initial sizes for the images that are available. When you're adding an image to a post, you're going to have pre-formatted height and widths that the images can show up. Most of the time, it's best just to leave these as default. So unless you have a specific reason to change them, you can just leave these alone. And the last is the permalinks. Now this is a little bit more complicated, but this determines how the URLs are generated when you're creating new posts and pages. So you can see from this example at the top, if I created a page right now or a post, it would kind of do the question mark P equals 1, 2, 3, or whatever the ID number of the page is. Obviously for SEO, that's a terrible idea. We don't want that. So the way that the people used to do it was by date, which is the day and name. That's set up here. There was a lot of reasons for that, whether it be performance reasons because they wanted to separate everything into folders, or they didn't want WordPress to have to queue up all of your posts to figure out which ones you wanted to view. But all of that's mainly been changed now. So the one that I recommend is a custom one. So we want to use a custom structure, and what that is, it's category post name. So we want to do %, that's not / percentage category, and another percentage at the same, and then post name. So /category /post name. So what that does, it'll separate your blog post into the category URLs. That keeps things kind of separate and organized, and then the post name. And this is also why it's important when you're creating your categories. We don't want really long names. We want to keep our categories short, succinct, and then to the point. And then we have a really nice URL structure. We have fast loading websites, and everything is golden. But if you did, for whatever reason, need to organize them by date or by month and name, or by another way, this is the section you do it. So you just click the one you want and click on Save Changes, and you're done.